Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we're doing the breakdown video for the Canelo versus Triple G 3 Undisputed Super Middleweight title fight that's taking place Saturday, September 17th on DAZN Pay-Per-View. This is a big fight right here. It's for the Undisputed title. It's a rivalry that is being renewed after 4 years. If you remember, I believe in 2017, the first fight went to a draw. It was a controversial draw, as a lot of people felt that Triple G won that fight. I personally had that fight scored a draw. I thought Canelo took about four of the first 5 rounds due to Triple G's inactivity. Triple G didn't get started in that fight really until like round 5 or 6, and he took all the middle rounds for sure. But then when Canelo's trainer yelled at him in the corner and told him he needed to win all the rounds from rounds 10 through 12, I felt Canelo won. And he at least took the championship rounds, 11 and 12. So that to me warranted a draw. But you know, I don't have a problem with people thinking that Triple G won that first fight. But in the rematch, that fight was razor thin. Triple G outlanded Canelo by about like 20 punches, I believe it was. But Canelo landed the harder shots, was pushing the action in the rematch. Another fight where I didn't have a problem with it going either way, but I felt it was close enough to call a draw again. I felt like it was razor thin, and Canelo took a very tight decision as he became the unified middleweight champion. Well, it's been 4 years since that rematch that took place in 2018, and now these two guys have danced around each other for years, and they're ready to go at it again for the undisputed super middleweight title. A lot of people want to criticize this fight, saying that Canelo is the heavy betting favorite and fighting a 40-year-old man. But let's be honest here. Let's be realistic. Yes, Triple G is probably not in his prime anymore. Yes, he's 40 years old. But is Triple G the #1 middleweight in the world or not? He is the unified middleweight champion and the #1 middleweight in the world. And realistically, there's not a bigger money fight that Canelo can make right now. So, you know, this third fight had to happen, and now it's happening. So, as I normally do with my breakdown videos, we start with the challenger and move to the underdog, discussing what they've done rolling into the fight, and then asking all the questions that I normally ask in a breakdown video. And then at the end, we do, is it better for boxing if one or the other wins this fight? And finally, my prediction on the fight. So let's get rolling. We start with the betting favorite and the reigning and undisputed super middleweight champion of the world, Canelo Alvarez. Canelo comes into this fight pissed off, to be honest. Pissed off for a couple reasons. First off, the first reason is he's coming off only his second career defeat, a unanimous decision loss to Dimitri Bivol, as he moved up to light heavyweight and tried to win a title there. He got soundly outboxed in the second half of the fight. First half of the fight was close. He got soundly outboxed in the second half, lost a clean decision, and missed out on the opportunity of becoming a 2-time champ at 175. But now he's pissed off about losing, obviously. So he wants to take his frustration out on his bitter rival, Triple G, but he's also pissed off that Triple G is talking a lot of shit about his, positive steroid test and all that junk, and really making it, a thing. So he's really coming into this fight motivated and pissed off to get back to his winning ways, and he's fighting at the weight that he absolutely decimated the division. In a matter of 11 months, he won 4 fights to become the undisputed middleweight champion of the world. So, he really is coming into this fight pissed off and motivated and looking to take his frustration out on Triple G, his rival. Now, what kind of style does Canelo need to have to win this fight? I think Canelo needs to cut the ring off and, use a consistent body attack, pretty much what he's been doing to all of his opponents since the second Triple G fight. And actually, it's what he did against Triple G. He threw to the body and attacked more, cutting the ring off and stuff. He did it against Kovalev. He did it against Danny Jacobs. He's been consistently doing that against all of his opponents, and it's been working. Outside of Bivol, it's been working. And Canelo, you know, is coming into this one the younger, fresher, probably more in his prime fighter than Triple G. And he really needs to make this about stamina and beat that 40-year-old body of Triple G's, take him into the deep water, the late rounds, and drown him with a consistent body attack. And again, pretty much what he's been doing to his opponents in the last couple of years since the Triple G fight, the second Triple G fight. So that's what he needs to do to win this fight. Now, can he win this fight by knockout? And you know what? I think he can. I think if he breaks Triple G down with that body attack and gets to him, the prime Canelo we've been seeing the last few years, I think has the ability to stop Triple G in the later rounds. I don't think he's got the one-punch power to hurt and stop Triple G. Maybe, maybe not. I'm leaning more towards the no. Triple G's got a great chin, but I think if he breaks Triple G down, he can wear him down and possibly stop him. Can Canelo win a decision? Well, he won a close decision the first time. I mean, the second fight. I think he can score, he can win enough rounds to win a decision against Triple G again. So yeah, I think he can win a decision. Now, what does a win mean for Canelo in this fight? Well, it's huge because he ends the rivalry with Triple G, which is what he wants. He retains his undisputed middleweight title and he moves forward, but it's not just the win that he needs here. He needs a definitive win. He needs to come out and leave no doubt in this fight against Triple G, because people are looking at him this time as the betting favorite, as the guy, and for a lot of different reasons. For the fact that Triple G's moving up to him, for the fact that Triple G's 40 years old and not in his prime, for the fact that Canelo's considered to be in his prime. He needs to take advantage of that and really make this a definitive victory. He needs a clear-cut win in this fight, and a stoppage would be awesome if he could get it. But he definitely, a win would be huge, and a clear-cut win would be even huger. Now, what does a loss mean for Canelo in this fight? A loss would be devastating for Canelo in this one. He cannot afford to lose this fight. He really can't. And the reason why is Triple G is a 40-year-old fighter past his prime. Now, does that mean he's not truly still a great fighter? I absolutely believe Triple G is still a very, very good fighter, even at 40 years old, because I feel like he's a Hall of Famer and truly was a great fighter. And, you know, as I always say, a great fighter, even his good is better than most people's great. So Triple G, in all honesty, at 40 years old, is still the #1 middleweight in the world and a unified middleweight champion. That means something. So yeah, a loss to Triple G, as great as he is, a loss would really hurt Canelo, especially coming off a loss to Bivol. It would really take him out of that pound-for-pound type discussion right there. So he really can't afford to lose this fight. And now we will move on to the reigning unified middleweight champion and the underdog coming into this, and challenger, Triple G Gennady Golovkin. Now, he enters this fight fighting at 168 pounds for the first time in his career. I think he fought at 164. Technically, he fought in this weight class, but it was like a catch weight, I want to say, against, don't hold me to this, but I want to say it was against Steve Rolls, and he rolled Steve Rolls in only 4 rounds. So I don't think the weight is gonna be a major issue. But you know, of course, depending on how he puts the weight on. But he heads into this fight very confident. Triple G went out there and unified belts back in April against Ryota Murata. You know, he hadn't fought in nearly a year and a half. He took on Murata. First 4 rounds were competitive. Rounds 5 through 9, he broke Murata down and broke his will and stopped Murata. Stopped him in the 9th round. And Murata's a good fighter. Murata's a former Olympic gold medalist. This guy can bang. And Triple G kind of just ripped his soul from him in that fight. So he's rolling into this one confident because of that, but also confident that he feels like he won those first 2 fights. And you can, you know, I don't have a problem with him or anybody else believing that. They were both very close fights, and he looks at it as, hey, I've beaten this guy twice already, and now he's putting it, he's got Canelo pissed off, you know, so he might be inside of Canelo's head. And Triple G is very smart, and he definitely is playing the mind game right now. So he's rolling into this fight supremely confident in trying to balance the scales of the fact that he's 40 years old and past his prime heading into this 3rd fight. But he's highly motivated. It's a big money fight, and he really wants to walk away from this rivalry with an official victory. So he's pumped up. Now, what kind of style does Triple G need to have to beat Canelo Alvarez? I honestly think Triple G cannot stand in the middle of the ring and exchange with Canelo out in the open. I think he's not as fast as Canelo. I think Canelo hits harder. And because he's moving up into Canelo's weight class, I think he needs to use it, really come in great shape, use his lateral movement, move side to side, and try to really outbox Canelo Alvarez with the jab and use the angles. If he does that and Canelo falls into that trap, and he can avoid some of those body shots that Canelo was throwing at him when they stood in the middle of the ring and were banging when Canelo was pushing him back, I think he can win this fight. And if he could fight the way he fought David Lemieux back in 2015 and that unification bout, when he absolutely boxed David Lemieux, who was a big power puncher, he absolutely boxed him and broke him down, I think he can have success. Now, again, Canelo, but Canelo is a far better fighter than David Lemieux, so he might not fall for that. But I think that's his best bet of getting a clear victory in this one. That's just my opinion. That's what I believe he needs to do. Can Triple G win this fight by knockout? I don't think so. Triple G, Canelo's got a great chin and has never been stopped. He damn near doesn't even look like he's been hurt. Triple G, if anybody hurt him, probably Triple G was the guy that did it. But unless he can really break down Canelo's body and stop him in the late rounds, I don't see him stopping it. I want to say no. Can Triple G win a decision? He damn near almost, you know, won the first 2 fights. Again, strong cases can be made that he won both those fights, and I don't have a problem with it. Can he win a decision? Yeah, I think he can. It might be close. He might be able to outbox Canelo. You never know. But I think he can win a decision. I do. What does a win mean for Triple G here if he pulls out the upset and becomes the undisputed super middleweight champion of the world? Well, any kind of victory marks the biggest victory of his career. And then he also becomes the undisputed super middleweight champion. That's historic right there. And so any kind of win right here over Canelo does that for him. Now, it could set up a 4th fight. You never know. But that, you know, and that just keeps Triple G's legacy going. But I think a victory for him would be the signature victory of his career, the one he's been looking for. He didn't get it in the first fight when a lot of people thought he should have. He didn't get it in the second fight in a really, truly great back-and-forth fight. If he can pull off the upset here at 40 and defeat a prime Canelo, that would be huge, huge for his career and legacy. Now, what does a loss mean for Triple G here? Well, depending on how he loses, it would just, I don't think people are going to be surprised if he loses this fight, but depending on how he loses is going to define a lot of things, in my opinion. First, if he should retire or not. If he gets his ass whipped by Canelo and really beat down, that's probably all she wrote. But if he goes out there and fights his ass off and really does a good job and doesn't lose by a lot, you know, I think he potentially continues his career, and he can push forward or hang his hat even if he decides to retire and say, You know, I gave it my all and just, you know, couldn't get over that hump, but I gave it my all and really, you know, put everything out there against this guy who was in his prime. So, you know, again, it really depends on how he loses for what a loss would mean for Triple G Gennady Golovkin. Now, we get into the two big questions. First off, is it better for boxing if Canelo retains his undisputed super middleweight title, or is it better for boxing if the 40-year-old Triple G becomes the undisputed middleweight champion? And before I give my answer, I'm going to let you know, I don't think it's bad for boxing on either side. Canelo winning, he's the cover boy for boxing right now, and to keep him rolling as the undisputed champion, winning against his most bitter rival, all that nonsense, I mean, all that combined, you know, is a great story. But Triple G extracting his revenge, becoming the undisputed middleweight champion, or super middleweight champ at 40 years old, what a story that would be for boxing and for him. So I don't think it's bad either way. But is it better for boxing if Canelo or Triple G wins? It's better if Canelo wins. Boxing needs a star in his prime like Canelo. And if Canelo were to lose, he takes a major step back. He really does. And it hurts boxing more than it would if Triple G were to lose this fight. Canelo, again, they need him. They need him to be in those big fights to carry the sport, the flag, for a few more years until the next major star can carry the torch and carry the flag. And right now, they need Canelo. You know, it's better for boxing if Canelo wins this fight, retaining his belt, and continues to set up those big major showdowns. Triple G's already at the end of his career. There's only so much he can do. Canelo's not there yet, so it's better for boxing if Canelo does that. Now, final, what's my prediction on this super middleweight rivalry fight for the undisputed super middleweight title? And I'm picking Canelo to win this fight. I think Canelo's pissed off. I think he's focused. I think he knows he has to win, and he has to win convincing this time. And I think he's going to go out there. I think it's about 50-50 that he can end the fight in 9, 10, 11 rounds like he's done to his last few opponents, you know, breaking them down and stopping Triple G in those rounds. But considering Triple G's always had a fantastic chin, it's going to be tough. But if Canelo can work the body and break him down, he has the ability to do it. But if, you know, I'm about 50-50 on whether it ends by a knockout or ends by a decision. I think it could go either way, but I really do believe that if he stops him, it's going to be in the late rounds like that. And if it goes to the scorecards, we're probably looking at like a 116, 112, 117, 111 type decision victory for Canelo Alvarez. But in either case, I think it will be convincing, and I think he'll retain his undisputed super middleweight title. Be that, you know, all that being said, I think a 40-year-old Triple G is still a very live underdog against Canelo because he's hungry and he wants this fight as well. And he's already been there twice. So I think he knows Canelo and knows what he has to do. But the difference this time is, yeah, it's not just the fact that Triple G is older now, that he's 40, and he's no longer in his prime. A lot of it has to do with the fact that Canelo is in his prime and has gotten better since that fight. So, or since their two fights. So, this is Canelo's time, and I think he's going to capitalize on it and take Triple G down and retain the undisputed super middleweight championship. But we're going to see what happens. Saturday, September 17th, DAZN pay-per-view. You don't want to miss it. Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G Gennady Golovkin, number 3 for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world at 168 pounds. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is a Canelo versus Triple G breakdown, and you've been hit with the truth.